Hello everyone, or in Italian, ciao a tutti. My name is Enrico Murru. I'm a Salesforce MVP, and I'm also an architect at Web Results. Web Results is a platinum Italian partner, Salesforce partner, sorry. It's an amazing place to live. My boss is here. And the question is why I'm here. I am here because I want to show you that Salesforce with Chrome extension is a good match. It's a way to leverage your fantasy, your creativity, to build something great and to give your user, your ohana, we know what this word means, something really useful for his daily job. So, first of all, I want to know how many developers are there? Can you raise your hand? Okay, so I can go in details with some code at the end. How many Italians? Hey, no, you are not Italian. Okay, so first of all, why Salesforce? I started working with Salesforce 9 years ago in Web Results, and since then a lot have changed, both in my career, but also in the platform, as you know. But I can say that Salesforce is the love of my life, but please don't tell my wife. She could be jealous. So, let's go on. The second question is, why Chrome extension and Salesforce together? First of all, everyone loves Google Chrome, or at least I do. But of course, this is not the main reason. The second reason is that latest Chrome versions are always supported by Salesforce. And on the other hand, Chrome updates itself quite automatically, quite seemingly. Sometimes you just have to hit a button. That is to say, those two reasons says that you always run on the latest code, so few security problems. And this is really good because you are developing in a browser that is almost always safe. Another important stuff is that Chrome has an amazing market share. If you see this, if you have a look at this pie chart, you can see that Chrome has about 50% market share. This is a pie chart of, I believe, of the end of October. And what does it mean? It means that your Chrome extension will be used by potentially a lot of people. So you have a great community that will use your product. Another reason is that Chrome extensions are cool by construction. That is to say, they give an amazing user experience. That is to say, they increase the features of your browser. Okay, this is why the Chrome generally the extensions are meant to be. And the most important feature, and the feature that I mostly like, is the fact that Chrome extension create I call them augmented reality sites. That is to say, you can inject some code, that is to say HTML or JavaScript code, into, for example, a Salesforce site, a Salesforce page, to increase its features, to enhance its behavior. And last but not least, Salesforce, we all know this, has a huge amount of Salesforce APIs. So you can use APIs to build whatever you want, almost. Next, why Chrome extensions? Chrome extension, some of you know me, some of you know my extension. It's called Organizer for Salesforce. It's a Chrome extension. Here I say, my attempt to build a killing Chrome extension. The reason is, behind this is why I use the word killing. Of course, killing apps are apps that has millions of users. But I'm a small Italian guy, and if I build something that is used by a lot of people, for me, it's of great value. So I would say it is a killing application. In fact, I have more than 5,000 users, and it's a big number compared to one, of course. This number, we have increased it to 5K during the Dreamforce. It has 5-star rating. You can see 78 5 stars, and trust me, they are not all my friends. It's used in more than 120 countries. It's free for all. I only accept voluntary donation because I develop it on my free time. And really, this is a really important point. I have a real amazing community. This is my #1 fan. He's Tom Blaymeyer from UK, from London. He always retweet my tweets. He gives me suggestions how to enhance the application, how to create new feature, bug fix, and so on. And this is a really cool stuff because from the community you can learn a lot. Around the extension, I had to create a site, a support site. It is a simple static HTML file with all the FAQs, and I try to keep it updated as much as I can, but also a dedicated CRM. Why a CRM? Because I give people the possibility, using a Force.com site, the possibility to file a case. So I find a bug, I want Enrico to enhance this, to resolve this. And finally, I'm really, really proud of this. A few weeks ago, the Chrome organizer for Salesforce is on the App Exchange. Next slide. What's inside? I'm going to go really quick on this. You can save your credentials on the extension. Other extension does this. Other extensions, do this. In fact, this is my kind of view of storing username and password or simply using OAuth process. There are other buttons you can open. You can open the org in different ways. And 3 of these buttons have been requested by the community, for example. The second feature is the most important one. It's the simplest, but the most important, and this is the reason why I developed this extension. You can choose which, for every org you log into, it is absolutely unrelated from the login part. So if you are inside the org, we know we have an organization ID that is unique. We can relate to this ID a different icon color and title. And believe me, trust me, this is really, really useful because when I'm a consultant, so when you work with different customers, different sandboxes, and you have to make a quick action, sometimes you lose your mind and you don't know where you are logged in. And this way, you easily associate an organization to a specific color. So simple, but really useful. Other features, we have like a developer console. I call it Quick Console with a lot of, I call them plugins. That is to say, query builder with autocomplete, execute anonymous, login as. But there are also other features like change set helper. The actual version has a low usability rate because it's not that usable. So I'm about to roll out a new version, formula and answer. So rich text for formula fields, quick links, and so on. So if you want more detail, you can go on the site. This is something that I'm gonna add in the next releases with a friend. Is called Kim Verheiden from EF Switzerland. He has developed a service to make code analysis, so code quality and complexity. And this is a simple thing on the organizer side. I'll give my users the possibility to analyze the code from within the extension. This is a cool feature that at this moment you cannot do from Chrome. So let's go on the important part. Oh, 9 minutes. How is it shaped, the Chrome extension? Chrome extension is made of different pieces. The first one is the pop-up page. This is the page that it's activated when you click on the icon. Another part of the extension is the options page. The options page is a page meant to contain all your extension configuration. For example, in the organizer, you can set the API level of your API calls. You can store them in the storage of your Chrome extension, and this is the best place to put a configuration like this because it is shared across all your usages. The other part is the content script. It is run inside your tabs, and this is the part related to what I called augmented reality site. So there's CSS and JavaScript that is run inside another site. In a sandbox, in a kind of sandbox. And finally, we have the background script. The background script is like a JavaScript, is more like a listener that runs behind the scenes and is capable of see what's happening in the whole browser. For example, the content script has some limitation. For example, it cannot access the other tabs. So if a content script wants, for a feature you are developing, amazing feature you are developing, to see from a content script, see what's happening on the other tabs, you have to ask to the background script. The background script simply watch what's happening and responds back. How this is made? This is made from HTML and JavaScript with few JavaScript code that is injected by Chrome and that are the Chrome APIs. So I've built a simple Chrome extension that I want to show you. Okay, this is called the Amazing Salesforce Chrome extension. This is available on the Chrome Store, Chrome Web Store. I'm not good in UIs, and this is the icon, so a simple smiley face. If you click on the pop-up, on the icon, you will see the pop-up page. This is, as I said, a simple HTML page with JavaScript on it. But you don't see anything. The purpose of this page is to make you log in to other orgs using OAuth. So, for example, just click here to configure new orgs. We are redirected to the options page. Here, we can add another user by simply clicking here. We are redirected to the login page. We are using the organizer to get the credential at this moment. So we are then redirected to, I hope some of you knows how the OAuth works. We allow this access. Now, the Chrome extension has a session ID that can use to have third-party access to Salesforce. So it has access on behalf of the user. We can add another user, for example, the demo2 user. The same procedure, allow. And now we have two different users. Now, if we click on the smiley face, the pop-up, we have two different results. We can click on the login page, on the login, user button, and we are redirected to the site. Okay, this is one feature. This is something that Organizer does already. The other feature is an augmented reality feature. That is to say, if you go in my favorite fake Salesforce company, that is Burlington Textile Corp of America, you will see that here has appeared a smiley face. Okay, it's put in a really bad way because, again, I'm not good in graphics. But what's the purpose of this smiley face? It is used to show you a new page with all the fields of the current object. Again, there are other extensions that does this, but the purpose of this demo is to show you that you can leverage your creativity using Chrome extensions. So if we double-click on the smiley face, we are redirected to an internal page that is called Swiss knife. It should be Swiss Army knife. I'm not good in English as well. And here we have a lot of all the fields of the current object. The current the cool thing that we have here is that we can navigate through objects. So, for example, we jump to the owner. We can click on the owner, and new page opens, and we have the describe of the user with all the details. We can jump then to the profile part, to the profile ID. We click here, and we are redirected here. As you may understand, this is all done using simple REST APIs. So I have a session ID. I use this session ID to actually provide this feature. So let's get back. Okay, you can download from this part. Anyway, these slides will be available after this presentation. You can, of course, download from GitHub, from this URL, the complete repository. It's free for use. To use it, you have to enter the developer mode into your Chrome browser. I can show you how to do this. It's just a simple click inside your browser. And the only thing you have to do is configure the connected app to actually allow your own extension to use OAuth. Okay, then let's go on into the code. I want to show you how I developed this because maybe it's for developers it's the most important part. Okay, first thing is how is it shaped, the directory? We have a root folder where we have all the HTML files, but also a manifest.json file. The manifest.json file is the file that contains all the building blocks, the configuration of all the building blocks of your extension. Then we have two main folders that are libs and CSS. Of course, CSS contains all the CSS files, and the libs JavaScript files. This is not an optimal solution. You can use other kind of solution, of course. The vendor subfolders are used to contain JavaScript or CSS that you haven't developed yourself. In fact, we see the Lightning Design System CSS and also jQuery. Of course, the img directory contains all the icons. So let's go to the code. Okay, now I'm trying not to bore you too much. The manifest.json file is used by Chrome, also the Chrome Dev Store, to actually grab all the information of your extension. So we have description, title, and site, who built this version. Pay attention to the version number, because when you publish on the store, and you are not expert in developing Chrome extension, you may publish a lot of different versions. When you publish a new version, you have to increase at least the minor number of your version. So if you are at the beginning, use low minor versions, so that when you go in production, you don't have a version of 100.5.1000.5. Okay, it's just a suggestion. It's common sense. Another important node is the permissions. The permissions node is actually what your Chrome extension can do inside the browser. So what can it do with the different tabs or functionality? Here we have an access to the tabs, because we want to access, actually, to open new tabs, for example. We want access to the storage, because as we have seen, we are grabbing some information from the auth process, and we want to store it inside our extension to use it in the future, because we want to make multiple logins from here to eternity. The cookies, because we want to access cookies, and this is something related when you actually want to see all the fields of a given subject. In that case, you are not using the session ID provided by the auth process, so by the pop-up. Why? Because there's no one told us that to actually make a describe of a simple object, we have to do all the auth. Okay, so we just need this feature not unrelated to the session, to the auth, to the login process. So we use cookies to grab the session ID that is stored inside the cookies. It's a bit tricky to get this. You can watch in details the code how I do this. I do this also in the in the organizer. The other two permissions are related to the domain where we want to access, to make the Chrome extension access, both when we want to actually make the augmented reality magic, but also when we want to make a call out, because we want to make API calls to Salesforce APIs to actually get the describe, the values of the field, and so on, to make the REST calls to Salesforce. The other node is the web accessible resources. This is used because we want to add the icon inside a script, inside your page, sorry, using the content script. And this way you have to say explicitly that inside your tabs you want to access resources that are stored inside your extension. The browser action, as you may imagine, is the node responsible for configuring the small icon you see on the top right corner of your browser. The icons, of course, are the icons of the extension. The content scripts is an array of scripts that are run inside your tabs. These scripts are responsible to actually show the small smiley faces on your object page. And finally, we see the background. This is the background scripts that talks with the content scripts, telling him which is the session ID of the calling tab. And finally, the options page, where we have the options page. So the next thing I want to show you is the constants file. This is a file where there are constants. This is the only place where you have to put your hands to make the extension work. That is to say, you have to replace the client ID with the connected app consumer key. I'm gonna show this in details on my blog, and I hope on the Salesforce developer blog. So I'm gonna show exactly which are all the steps to achieve this. And this is the only configuration on the Salesforce side you have to do inside your developer org. This is like the license ID of your Chrome extension on the Salesforce side. And so you just grab this consumer key and put it here. The next part is how are they shaped, the different pages we have seen. This is the options page. As you can see, it's simple, plain HTML. Nothing really incredible. You can see a lot of SLDS classes. I'm not good in, as I said, in CSS, in graphics, so I decided to use plain old markups I found in SLDS site. But the cool thing I want to show you is the part of the JavaScript file that runs in it. What does it do? As we have seen, from the options page, we can go into Salesforce, log in, and then get back to the extension to get a valid session ID to make future callouts. This function, the parse out page URL web server flow, is a feature that inspects the URL of current page. That is to say, I want to show you, we are here, okay? When we are redirected back from Salesforce after the out, we have a series of parameters. These parameters are actually the parameters that we can use to grab a valid session ID from Salesforce, making a REST call, a post call. This way, we know that if we have some parameters in the page, probably we are at the end of the out session. And if we are at the end of the out session, we can jump here and we can see exactly what happens. It just grabs the code and state parameters from the URL and try to make a post request to a specific endpoint of Salesforce to get a valid session ID. Okay, you may say there are a lot of libraries that do this. And I agree with you, written very well, better than this. But this is why I'm a Salesforce MVP. I love to get my hands dirty. So, okay, I know a lot of people know how it works, and there are a lot of people that have created one-line code to make all this stuff. But if you don't do this, you don't learn. So this is a suggestion, do this. Write as much code as you can, and try to get the best out of what you learn. So let's go back. If we have some details from the auth, this function simply store the session information inside the Chrome extension. If we don't have any, what happens? We just have a plain page with a table. So from here, you can see we just create a table. The line 46 asks the Chrome storage to get all the tokens we have stored in our extension, and we create a table. Again, this is not the best way to create something using jQuery because we have a lot of strings, and this is highly not maintainable. But the way it works, so let's keep it like this. We just create, as I said, a table with different rows, and each row contains username, the URL of the instance, the org ID, the user ID, and the two buttons that you can see here. That is to say, the test button and the refresh button. The test button simply tests if the currently stored session ID is valid, while the refresh button, what does it do? It refreshes. So it's refreshing the session ID because we know that session ID only lasts for a few hours, maybe, or even minutes. So every time we want to log in, we have to verify before that the session ID we have is currently valid. Otherwise, we have to refresh it using always OAuth. So let's go on. Let's go on. Okay, sorry, I lose my. The other part I want to show you is the pop-up page. That is to say, this page. So another simple HTML page. The magic is here in the pop-up JS file. It is really similar to what happens in the options page. I'm going to refresh your mind. So as you can see, we have 2 users and 2 users both on the options and both on the pop-up, because we are actually reading what's stored in our extension. And what's stored in our extension, we can we have the username, the instance URL, but also we can log in. We have seen that clicking the login button, we just make a new login. How this magic happens? We can watch at this exactly. Excuse me. Okay, this is the login button. Again, it gets again the information of the session ID. Why? Of the session token. Why this? Because you actually can run different instances of Chrome in different laptops. So if you run the pop-up here in this browser, and you run a pop-up here in this browser, and you make a refresh call here, it automatically is how can I say, is propagated into the other instance. So it's better always to get always the most fresh values inside the local storage. Once we have once we have got the session ID from the local storage, we do this. So we don't know if the session ID is still valid, so we just issue get user info. This is a simple REST API where using the session ID, we can get all the information of the user. If this call is okay, so the status is 200, so it's everything okay, we know that this session ID is still valid, and we can proceed here, open tab and login. What does this function do? Simply call the frontdoor.jsp page that actually create a new tab inside your page, inside your browser with a valid session ID, so you have a new web instance inside your browser. If you have a 401 or 403 errors, it means that the session ID is not more valid, and you have to issue a new refresh token using the do refresh token function, and after that you can redirect. Okay, this is another important stuff. This is the content script, so the script that is run inside your page. We call it injection. So the script is injected inside your page if it's a Salesforce.com or Force.com page, and runs on load. But what we want to do is to see first if we are inside an object page. So /object ID or /sobject/object ID if we are in Lightning edition, Lightning experience. But how can we do this? We can, as I said, we have to get a new session ID. Sorry, a new session ID from the browser. How do we get this? We get this from the cookies. As I said, the cookies are stored by Salesforce in all the tabs, and each tab has a different session ID. And each session ID is differently strong. Some session IDs are available only for web access, some others only for Visual 4 access, some other only for API access. There's a simple algorithm that actually checks this and can grab, watching all the tabs open and all its cookies, can grab what is the best session ID he can grab. And to do this, we have to call the background, so to send a message to the background. We just use the send message from the runtime, the Google runtime, Chrome runtime. And as we can see, the background page is simply a listener. It just listens from messages, sorry, and once the event is the one that I want to handle, we just call all the features, we just implement the feature we want. In this example, we just grab the cookies from the calling tab. Using the get all session cookies, we just go on all the other tabs and all the other Salesforce instances that are open inside our browser, and we grab all the session IDs, and after that, this returns a simple map. We just go to get this. We just sessions using the OID. The OID is the organization ID that we grab from the initial call to the cookies. After that, we just send the response to the content. This is the content file. And this is where the magic happens. So we just create with simple JavaScript the app container. The app container is setting class name. I didn't want to use jQuery here because sometimes it's a bit tricky to not to make it interfere with the running code inside your tab. And after that, you just implement the add event lister double click that opens a new window calling the get Swiss knife URL. As you can imagine, if we go to this function, it's just the construction of a URL calling the Swiss knife, passing the URL of the domain API, the session ID, and the ID of the object that we are in. So, as you may expect, and I promise this is the end, this is the Swiftnet page. Again, a simple page with some JavaScript inside, and this JavaScript makes two different things. The first thing is just a call to the REST APIs to get all the fields of a given object, and then a describe, because we want to show labels and object type. After that, we simply draw a new table containing all the fields. And this is more or less what happens. It's not magic. It's something really, really simple that you can do it yourself. So let's go back. Okay. The next step is, okay, you develop into your Chrome extension. Maybe you took this Chrome extension, you changed it to make it behaving like you want, but you want to publish this. It's really simple because you just have to pay a $5 fee to the Chrome Web Store, and you can publish up to 20 extensions or Chrome apps. Really simple. No documentation, it's automatically available on the store. Sometimes there's a little bit of delay when you publish, but maybe 1 hour. It's not that much. So you zip your extension, you create a new item, you compile all the request fields, and finally you can publish. I can show you my publish site, for example. Here it is. We have the amazing Chrome extension, the organizer for Salesforce, a staging version of the organizer because I don't want to make something that can break, actually, my extension. So I want to test it out in production mode. There's a labs version because I'm developing something that I don't want to have in my production org because I'm still thinking about this. And there's another shitty extension on the lower part, I don't want to show you. Okay, so it's really simple to provide something to your user. And believe me, this is really, really good for me. This is something that I'm really proud of. Something I created is used by a lot of people. And I say this with pride. So, what have you learned? Maybe, I hope at least 1% of this. So what a Chrome extension is, if you haven't understood, I beg your pardon, I'm really sorry, please contact me. How a Chrome extension is shaped, and finally, this is the thing that as an MVP, I want to put it in your mind. If you have an even small idea of a feature that can be useful to the others, please develop it, share it, put it in the community. People will love it and will love you. And this is the spirit of Ohana. And finally, Salesforce plus Chrome is pure love. And I have finished. If you have any question, please contact me. I'll try to put some guides on my developer blog. And thank you. Questions?
We just take a peek at Utility.js, just want to see if we can express with Polly. I just want to see what they look like.
Oh, see, yeah, sure. You want to, what do you want to check? Ah, okay, yeah, sure. Again, you want to see, for example, a user info. Ah, okay. Oh, it's, for example, it's plain. I'm using this. It's not science fiction. There are other libraries that does this really well. Again, this is just a demo. Okay. No, 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 no. Okay. Yeah. Good question. I'm here to make this not happen. At this, this extension now works both in Lightning and Classic. I don't know if in the near future it can break in some way, but I don't believe because the code is run outside Salesforce. So there's no need the two code can impact. So I don't believe. I hope. We have all 4 minutes. Nothing? Thank you.